The Giganotosaurus, one of the largest theropods to ever walk the earth. This animal sported 76 razor-sharp teeth, perfect for slicing through the flesh of its prey. It was a perfect killing machine. This animal, whilst being overshadowed by its more popular tyrannical cousin, has been seen across all walks of media, appearing in Walking with Dinosaurs, Primeval, Dino Crisis, as well as many more games, movies, books and franchises. But possibly the most recent appearance of this beast is in the upcoming Jurassic World movie, Dominion, where it sports a new, terrifying design separate from its previous incarnations. It's easy to see why the Jurassic series would want this creature to be the villain of one of its entries, as it's an extremely terrifying looking dinosaur. But is this what it really looks like? How different was the real animal? And is there anything that Jurassic World got right? To break down what this creature would have really looked like, we have to dive into what exactly the animal even is. What features does it have? Where would it have roamed all those years ago? Well, let's dive into it. Giganotosaurus translates to giant southern lizard and was discovered in the Cordilleras Formation of Patagonia in 1993. It lived in the late Cretaceous period over 97 million years ago. This animal grew up to 45 feet in length and stood at a height of 18 feet tall, although its true size is currently unknown due to the incompleteness of the specimens found, so there may have been some even larger, with some estimates reaching 49 feet in length. It's estimated to have weighed a whopping 7.5 tons, the same as a large truck, which means a swift stomp of its foot would have turned your bones to dust. It sports two relatively long muscular arms with 3 fingers on each hand. Much more useful than the T-Rex's, these would have come in handy in combat, slashing and grabbing at its prey in a fashion that many other terrifying predators wouldn't have been able to. Now, the skull is the most interesting part of any carnivore, as it's where its prime killing toolsets lie: the teeth. In the Giganotosaurus's 6-foot 5-inch skull lay 76 razor-sharp 7-inch blades, perfectly adapted for slicing flesh. Unlike T-Rex, whose jaw was perfectly evolved for crushing bone with a bite force of a humongous 35,000 newtons. The Giganotosaurus had a much weaker bite force at 6,000 newtons, but this animal was perfectly happy to slice into the flesh of its prey, letting the dinosaur bleed to death, essentially making Giganotosaurus a prehistoric Jason Voorhees. On the skull is a crest that sits above the supratemporal fenestra that allows this creature to stand out amongst the other giant theropods, giving it that unique Giganotosaurus appearance. It's also worth noting that this creature was much slimmer than the T-Rex, which helped it in its agility. It's been estimated that the Giganotosaurus could run approximately 31 miles per hour, 3 times that of the Tyrannosaurus. So those are its characteristics. Let's take a look at the Jurassic World iteration of the Giganotosaurus and how it compares to what we really know about the real animal. First off, most notably, we see the Dominion Giga sports these dragon-like scales down its back. On modern reptiles, we call these osteoderms, which give it a really evil and almost dragon or crocodilian-like look to them. From an artistic standpoint, I can see why they've done this. It allows this design to stand out amongst the other theropods like T-Rex, but it's absolutely all wrong. In reality, its scales would have been closer to that of a bird's. From skin impressions uncovered from T-Rex fossils, we can see the skin texture of theropods is a lot more bumpy and round, not taking the sharp, overlapping crocodilian appearance that we see in the film. This would have given the animal a much smoother appearance, something the Jurassic World evolution iteration of the dinosaur actually got right. Well, that is until they added iguana-like spikes down its back. As for colors, the Giganotosaurus lived in Cretaceous Argentina, which would have been extremely dry and brown outside of patches of plant life, since rainfall was a rarity in this era. Giganotosaurus likely adapted a color palette that matched its surrounding environment, something that's extremely common in nature. By taking a brown, striped or spotted skin color with a light underbelly, it would have had an easy time blending into the Cretaceous environment, meaning it can sneak up on its prey efficiently. Eye placement is also something that's regularly disputed amongst the Jurassic community. In reality, the eyes of Giganotosaurus would have been further back and higher up, more optimal positioning for hunters. One thing to note is that Jurassic World actually gets the arms of the dinosaur mostly right for once. Wrists of dinosaurs are extremely limited in movement, and many of the Jurassic Park and World dinosaurs have pronated wrists, meaning their palms face down. In reality, dinosaurs' hands would have pointed towards each other, kind of like a bird. The Jurassic World Giganotosaurus features these bird-like hands that face towards each other, which is a nice change Universal is making for Dominion, although one difference is that the arms of the real animal were slightly smaller. So, is there an accurate representation of Giganotosaurus? What did Giganotosaurus really look like? As of right now, the most accurate representation of the Giganotosaurus is this art by R.J. Palmer, famed concept and paleo artist responsible for bringing countless monsters and prehistoric animals to life, such as this T-Rex, Spinosaurus, and even Godzilla. In this art, we see all the differences noted in the video, including skin texture, color, head shape, arm and wrist placement. It looks vastly different from the crocodilian-like Giganotosaurus that we see in Jurassic World Dominion. One thing you might have noticed from both recreations of the animal is the lack of feathers. Feathers are a hot topic amongst the community, with some believing dinosaurs didn't have them, whilst others did. For smaller dinosaurs like Velociraptor and Archaeopteryx, we have plenty of evidence verifying feathers on these creatures. After all, feathers are well suited for insulation. But for larger dinosaurs like T-Rex, it's still up for debate. We have skin impressions from the thigh and tail, which show this dinosaur was scaly, although its smaller ancestor, Eutyrannus, has been found to sport feathers, which leads us to believe if large animals like T-Rex were to have feathers, they would be light, hair-like filoplumes scattered across the neck and shoulder, since as the creature grew larger, it lost the need for feathers. We can actually see this represented in Jurassic World Dominion, as the Cretaceous T-Rex has light, hair-like feathers featured across its back. But as for Giganotosaurus, there's simply no evidence from either its fossilized remains or its ancestors that it had feathers, which, as far as we know, leads us to believe this animal was featherless. And finally, there's no evidence of shrink wrapping going on here. This creature has all the muscle, fat and flesh that a real animal unapologetically would, something the Jurassic series has previously had issues with. This creature is just as terrifying as the beast we see in the previews for the film, being perfectly adapted to kill its prey with a jaw big enough to swallow you whole. Which just goes to show, you don't need to go out of your way to design a monster when reality is just as terrifying. What do you think about the real Giganotosaurus? Do you prefer the one based on reality or the monster from the Jurassic series? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you want us to make a video on what Giganotosaurus really sounded like, then leave a like, because it helps us know what you want to see more of. And don't forget to subscribe and stomp the notification button to become a resident of Dangerville today. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you, residents, in the next one.